in this chapter, I have two favorite quotes.
Go for it.
One is, "You get what you repeat."
Yes.
I kind of love those idiotic "you are what you eat" things.
Yeah.
Um, there's a little side concept that time will magnify the margin of success or failure
Hmm.
based off the habits that you allow yourself to fall into.
Yep.
Something I just hated, and it really pissed me off when he said it, is that mastery requires patience.
Yeah. Yeah, that would piss you off.
And I'm like, no, I was born perfect. I was made in the image of God. And if he wanted me to be better, he would have told me himself.
Sarcasm.
Yes. I mixed it in some popular
No, I believe you.
songs, and
Everything about that, I believe you believe exactly what you said.
I do so much that I don't know how I sleep with myself.
Yep.
But yet
Yep.
I do, because I'm so perfect and beautiful.
So what I want to end this with is the he he lays out four problems with goals and just setting goals. Um, he doesn't say so. This is something interesting. I say that like he lays out four problems with goals and it kind of indicates, oh, he doesn't want you to have goals. Well, that's not necessarily true. um, what he basically says is that what you need to do is you need to set up the goal. Like, what is your goal? You want to lose weight? Okay, great. Let's get specific about how much weight you want to lose. Okay, now that we know that about how much weight you want to use, and we go into other things like he kind of talks about the SMART goal system in here, but not really. um but the whole thing is like he talks about, all right, what's the goal, what are the daily, he then goes down, drills it all the way down into what are the daily habits, what are the daily systems that you need to put into place that are going to help you achieve those goals. And he says really what there are four problems with having just goals and not having these systems and these habits in place to help you achieve that goal. And the first one is, I mean, it should be fairly obvious, and it's kind of a silly statement to say it, but it's very true. Is both winners and losers have the same goals. So think about sports. We yesterday was the Super Bowl. I'm dating the podcast, which I don't necessarily want to do because I want it to be timeless, but at the same time, hey, guess what? We
Yeah,
can't
there it
really
is.
help that. The example is that the yesterday was the Super Bowl. Both teams went into the Super Bowl with the same goal, winning, right? And
Yeah.
only one team can win. So the whole point is, hey, look, you can have the goal of winning. That's great. That's good. But the problem with it is, is like, oh, I'm just going to go in and win. Well, but how? Like, what are you going to do? How are you going to win? What are you going to do each? What are you going to do each quarter, each half of the game? What are you going to do each quarter of the game? What are you going to do each minute of the game? That type of thing. Like, it's that attitude that he's trying to drill into people is just that one. Like, what are you going
What
to
are you going
do?
to do every day before the game?
There you go. Thank you,
Right? It's
Phil.
like everybody's like, yeah, I want to win the game because I'm going to be amazing. I want to be a billionaire. I want to make $500,000 in 5 years. But what steps
Yep.
are you going to take to get there? Those 1% steps, breaking it down into microcosm steps where you can take action on those. The
Yes.
he says something that I really agree with, and he says the problem isn't you, right? It's not you. You are perfect, right? And it's really the system, and you are
Yes.
not the system. Uh, Even if you made the system, right?
Yep.
It's not you. And I want to have fun with that. I want to call that out as bullshit for a second, but I also want to not fall in the habit of being a product of anything other than what you
Yeah.
design your life to be.
Yep.
So it's easy, especially for anybody that's driven, to say, I am this, I've failed before, so I'm not good at that. And you essentially define yourself by certain things. And when
That's
you step back and go ahead.
That's a preview of next week's episode, but keep going.
Oh, super. So I should be careful.
No, no, you'll keep going, and we'll dive deeper into it next week. Is what I'm saying.
Okay, cool. So
Speaking of,
it's important to to pay attention to the words you use when you describe yourself. And part of me does like that he says you are not, it's not your fault. You're a product of your systems, and you can change those systems. You can change how you approach things. And on a side note, I think you need to control the voice and how you define yourself.
yep. And like I said, that is a preview of next week's episode, so we'll be diving into that in more detail and more depth later. Which I think everything that you just said is extremely important, and I don't want to shove it under the rug and ignore it. I think it's extremely important, and I like
Yeah, I'm going to join the Me Too movement and agree with you.
it. Anyway, hold on. We'll talk about that in a little bit. All right. So what's the second problem with a goal? And this is the hilarious thing is achieving a goal is only a momentary change. Like winning the Super Bowl. Cool. Great. You won the Super Bowl. What do they always ask at the end of the Super Bowl game? What does the reporter always do? They always go to the MVP or the quarterback or whatever, and they say, "Hey, so and so, you've won the Super Bowl. What do you do next?" What do they say?
Get ready for next year.
No, I'm going to Disney World or something like that. You don't know that quote?
No, no, I don't.
Oh my gosh! Oh my gosh! That's what they say every year. Somebody said it years ago, and I think they said it as a bit of a joke because it's like, well, you just won the Super Bowl. We're not thinking about what's next. We're just thinking about enjoying our time and everything because we won the Super Bowl. So then it became a thing. It's a meme every year. Like every year,
I love it.
they
I'm
always
going to
do
Disney
that.
World. Oh,
Yes.
you brought a little bit of light into my life.
The whole point is like achieving a goal is just a momentary thing. It's just one thing at one point in the time in the timeline of your life. And I mean, there's nothing. Okay, there's nothing sadder than the guy who won the state football championship when he was in high school and he's 40 years old and he's never moved beyond that and he always talks about it. There's nothing sadder than that.
Love
I mean,
and marriage
there's probably other things that are a little more sad. What? Love and marriage is sad?
goes together like a horse and carriage. What was that TV show?
I think it's called Love and Marriage.
Yeah, because that was him, isn't it? He
I
did
think
good in high
so.
school, and
Yeah.
then he married that wonderful woman, and his life
Yep.
is happy ever since.
Oh yeah. Well, it was a sitcom.
Yeah, it was a sitcom back when I was a kid. I was a little too young to appreciate it, I think.
TV series, 1996.
Oh, 96. That wasn't that long ago.
Huh. It was only one season.
I can't imagine why,
I don't know. It's
but it's
interesting.
iconic.
It is. Sometimes you get those. Um. Anyway, so the one thing, so another thing, a problem that he points out with goals is goals restrict your happiness. And the reason why he says that is you either achieve the goal or you don't achieve it. And and he basically says when you set a goal and you only create that goal and you make that the big thing, you set it up on a pedestal, it means that, hey, if I achieve this goal, I'm going to be happy. If I do not achieve this goal, then I am not going to be happy. Or he puts it another way too. With a goal, there's an implicit assumption that once I achieve this goal, I will be happy, and that's not true. Like that's just it really isn't.
Yeah.
What's one thing in your life that you set out to achieve and you achieved it and it just didn't feel like you're not happy with it.
Well,
Is there something?
there was my high school graduation. I'm like, well, this is crap, right?
Yep.
Then there's my bachelor's degree, and I'm like, this is
Yep.
crap. And then there's my master's degree. I'm like, I'm still not feeling like this was huge.
Yep.
So, but when I look back, I'm like, I should have celebrated each of those. Like, I wasn't going to make it to the next.
It is true. Like I look at a lot of my stuff the same way. It's like my high school, we celebrated, we had fun and everything. Okay, cool. But I look at it like it was definitely very much a now what scenario. I got my first bachelor's, and it was like a very much like it was a celebration, and then I was like it was a now what scenario, and then I had my second one bachelor's, and I didn't care at all. I finished it and I got that degree, and I was just like, I'm not celebrating. I'm not doing anything. And then I look back and I'm like, I should have celebrated that one.
Yeah, right. You're there. It's like this is just a micro step to where I'm going,
Yep.
and it really was in the bigger picture. But dang, some stuff you got to learn to appreciate.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So
It, I mean, I hate I hate this phrase, or I hate the cliche of it. It's like life is about the journey and not the destination. Like I hate that phrase because I'm kind of like, but the problem
'cause
is that there is a destination in life. Like there is a destination, and that
yeah,
destination is death.
yeah, it's probably
Okay.
not what you expect it to be. So
Yeah,
enjoy the stuff you have. As I get older, I do kind of appreciate that more, and I try to teach my kids to enjoy the little stuff.
that's the
Um,
big one.
yeah, and I try to not be so busy I don't enjoy them. But I'm not very good at that. At least I'm not as good as I want to be at that. It's probably just like back to this whole treating parenting like I uh, treated my education, right? So I'm trying to realize what parenting is before I'm a grandfather.
Yeah, but being a grandfather, like I watched my dad and my stepmom be grandparents, and it's awesome. It's
They look happy,
awesome to
like,
watch.
and I think about it. I'm like, it would be kind of cool to play with them for a little bit and then give it back. I wonder if that's the magic.
That's why I like being an uncle. I get to play with my nieces and nephews and give them back.
Right, right. They're cute
I
until
don't.
you really have to deal with them. I'm like, everybody's kids are cute except mine. Why?
Yep. Yep. All right. So the final problem that he points out is goals are at odds with long-term progress. Now, what does that mean? The best example I can give to everybody is diets. Everybody goes and they're like, I want to lose so many pounds, and they lose that. But then the problem is that they haven't made actually any real change. They've only worked to meet the goal of losing those pounds, and then they immediately go back to their old habits, and they either go back to the same weight that they were, or they're worse off. I see that all the time. I was really big into the fitness industry about like 5 or 6 years ago, and I saw that all the time with people. They would go and they would work hard to try and lose that weight, but then they would do it, and then they're like, oh, I've met my goal, and then they just stop doing the stuff that they were doing because they're like, I've met my goal now. I can, and they go back to where they were, and now they've got a ton of weight all back on. So altogether, what he's trying to sit here and say is that instead of focusing on the goals, instead of like trying to achieve these goals that you need to try to achieve, he wants to point out that what you need to do is set the goal, have the goal in mind, and then create a system to help you achieve that goal and forget the goal. Essentially is what he's getting at. Because and I like this phrase. Everybody uses it. Everybody says it now because he put it out there, and it's actually very pithy. Is you do not rise to the level of your goals. Excuse me. You fall to the level of your systems. And the whole point is you're not going to your life is not going to get better. Your life is not going to go and get better to meet that goal. Instead, your life is going to fall down to the system that you have in place. And if that system isn't a good, firm foundation for what you want to achieve in life, things are just going to get bad. Things are not going to work out, or whatever. You're just not going to achieve the goal that you want. You're not going to achieve the life that you want. So what he's saying is what we need to do is create a system of these atomic habits, these routines that we apply each and every day to achieve what we need to achieve or what we want to achieve. So, and that is the introduction to atomic habits, and that's what we're going to get into over the next couple of weeks, episodes, whatever. Next week, we're going to dive into the identity stuff and how and habits and stuff with identity and kind of what Phil was talking about earlier. And it's like the reason why I want to focus, put a ton of focus on this chapter is because it is an extremely important chapter to understand about your habits and your systems and your goals and stuff.